Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another League of Legends guide video. And in today's guide, we're gonna be looking over GALIO, the Colossus. The Colossus. I mean, I don't think Riot could have thought of anything better, but the Colossus. Yeah, I think they could have come up with something. But anyways, let's just put that to a side. Let's put his catchphrase or whatever, his extra added lines to the side, and let's get right into this guide. So anyways, before watching further into this video, and don't forget to drop a like, even drop a comment if you guys really want to, about anything you want to know on GALIO himself, because in my previous guides, you guys do drop a bunch of comments on what kind of things you want to know, and also you guys are teaching me at the same time. I'm getting a few Plats, Diamond people or whatever coming up in my comment section and telling me and correcting me for most of the shit I do, because sometimes it's just either me not reading properly or it's just me not knowing most of the details about the champion themselves. Even though I'm doing the guide on them themselves, I'm just giving you a brief information about champions themselves, especially for beginners, and I'm also trying to include some tips for people that are very experienced with champions like these, so pretty much everyone can use champions like these. So anyways, we're gonna go straight into GALIO's abilities, then we're gonna talk about his builds, runes, and masteries, and then everything else we'll summarize him, and that's how all the guides go. So let's start off with GALIO's passive, which is Colossal Smash. GALIO's next basic attack is periodically modified to deal 12 to 80 damage, which is based on level, and this is gonna plus 100% AD, 40% of your AP, and 40% bonus magic resistance, which totals magic damage to its target and all enemies around. Colossal Smash's cooldown is reduced by 4 seconds every time GALIO hits an enemy with an ability. So GALIO's passive is a pretty nice passive, as it also has a bit of AoE, and it also helps with getting minions, and it's also good for fighting as well, especially when you're building up items, but it just depends what kind of items you build, because some people build tank GALIO, or AP GALIO, or support GALIO. It's all dependent on what you build as well. And basically what GALIO does, he just smashes the ground. He smashes a bunch of things. He just does some RKO shit on them, and this happens on champions, minions, anything, and does quite a lot of damage compared to your basic attacks themselves. And this is really good for picking up the 3 backline minions, which are the mage minions, so whenever you get them low with your Q, you can just smash them all, and you pick up 3 of them. And this is what helps GALIO farm on the lane. Now we're gonna move over to GALIO's Q, which is Winds of War. And before we get into the information, I just wanted to show you that near the icon of the ability, I've also enlisted more of the information so you guys can know more about the ability. So I've included cost, target range, effect radius, and cooldown, so that makes future guides and future information a lot better so you guys can understand them better as well. So anyways, the extra details are up there, and we're gonna move over talking about the details on his ability. The active is GALIO fires 2 wind blasts that arc together to either side before converging to the target area, dealing magic damage to all enemies they pass through. When the blasts meet, the gusts form a tornado that advances for 1.5 seconds, dealing magic damage every 0.5 seconds to every enemy within, capped at 100 per hit against monsters. So GALIO fires out 2 gusts of wind, which goes out and arches back inwards, and then it creates a tornado. The tornado at the end also does do a bunch of damage, and the damage between the gust of wind from it flowing and arcing is a lot different to when it's completely formed into tornado. So your Q has a different set of damages, so the waves of where it goes in, as you can see on the image on the bottom left, when it passes through the minions, it still does damage, but also when it lands and it splashes, it will do a radius kind of damage, so it will hurt enemies that hit that, or even the wave. Now we're going to talk about GALIO's W, which is Shield of Durand. The passive is GALIO gains a shield that exclusively absorbs magic damage, refreshing after not taking damage for 12 seconds. The first cast is GALIO begins to charge over 2 seconds. Slow icon is slowing himself by 30%, reducing incoming damage and increasing Shield of Durand's taunt radius over the duration. The second cast is GALIO's taunt taunts all nearby enemies for 0.5 to 1.5 seconds, and it's all dependent on the charge time, and refreshes its damage reduction for 2 seconds. Shield of Durand cannot be interrupted by crowd control. Shield of Durand's cooldown starts at the same time first cast starts. So this ability may seem a little confusing, but this is an ability that you may need to hold down on. If you have quick cast, you need to hold down on this ability, and it has 2 different types of casts. So when you press the button, when you hold down W, he will charge up and he will let out a circle, and that will be the radius of the taunt. Also, the bigger you have it, the longer the duration of the taunt will be. And then once you release it, it will taunt the enemies, it refreshes the damage reduction for 2 seconds, and you can pretty much attack them and carry on your combo. So this is essentially used in team fights, and you can use it for keeping your enemy close to you so you can beat the shit out of them. Now we're gonna move over to Galio's E, which is Justice Punch. And the active for this is Galio briefly dashes backwards before charging forward, stopping upon hitting terrain or an enemy champ, dealing magic damage to all enemies hit, and airborne icon, knocking them up for 0.75 seconds. So this ability passes through a bunch of minions, so any minions or any kind of monsters that are in the way, well, as long as they're not huge monsters, Galio will knock past them, and as soon as he hits a champion, he will knock them up. Bear in mind, this ability cannot be used going over a wall or anything, as it says it stops upon hitting terrain or an enemy champion. Once it hits an enemy champion, it knocks them up really high, and they basically can't do anything for that duration, which is pretty much 3/4 of a second. They can't do anything for that. So you have a very high CC kit, which helps you keep your enemies close to you and beat the crap out of them. And Justice Punch can also be used for farming the minions. This thing, combining your Q and E and passive, helps you clear the wave insanely quick. Galio can actually clear stuff very fast. Playing him in the jungle is also beneficial because he actually kills monsters insanely fast. I'd advise you to start Raptors if you were playing this guy, because he can get rid of them really quick because of the gust of wind from his Q, and it hits every single Raptor from all the AoE. And then you can pretty much finish off the last one and carry on with your jungle, because this guy is something else when it comes to farming. It's not normal, and it's pretty awesome. Now we're gonna move over to Galio's ultimate, which is Hero's Entrance. The active is Galio designates the target allied champion. The active is Galio designates the target allied champion's location at the time of cast as his landing spot. Channels for 1 second and then dashes to them, reducing the damage they take until he lands. Upon impact, Galio deals magic damage to all nearby enemies, and airborne icon knocks them up for 0.75 seconds, increased to 1.25 seconds at the center of the impact zone. So the closer they are to the middle, the more knockup it will do, and this also reduces the damage that goes to your allied champion that you ulted on, and I'm pretty sure any ally in the radius, and it will pretty much protect him just before you get there, and it helps for moving around the map, CCing your enemies, saving your allies, because this ability can only be used on allies. This cannot be used on enemies straight away or anything, because it's a point and click ability, and as long as you use this correctly, let's say for example you're in mid lane Galio, and you're going bot lane to save your bottom lane, and if they're getting ganked by their jungler, you can ult on them, and you can go save them. Then you can hope to use the rest of your kit to save your ally. Also, this ability doesn't also have to be used for attack. People use TPs, Twisted Fate ults, or Shen ults to get out of places like that, and Galio can do the same thing, but with the first few seconds, he cannot be hard CC'd. And if he finds a very far allied champion that he can ult on, he can do that as well. He can go ult on them and just escape out of there, which is pretty relieving, because you can get out of the most toughest situations as long as your allies are nearby. Just make sure you have your ultimate always being upgraded, and then you'll have more escape potential and more engage potential. Now, before we go into anything else, I'm going to talk about the masteries only alone and not the runes, and then I'm going to go over to the build ideas. And the only reason I'm not going to be mentioning the runes is because you can build Galio in many different ways, and you can keep different kind of runes for him as well. So the mastery page that I use, if you guys want to go with what I use, I go on mid lane Galio with Xerath masteries. And the only reason I do this is because Galio has a lot of AP scaling with his passive Q and E, and Thunderlords, it's really good on Galio. Your Q alone can proc Thunderlords, because within the gust of wind that collides together, it has 3 different kind of hits that happen within it, and also a hit that happens before the tornado forms. This just allows the Thunderlords to proc really fast, and it leaves your enemy champion with low health very early game. So when you're playing Galio, I'd say you want to try engaging on your enemies early game, especially when you got all 3 of your abilities. It's all up to you if you really want to go intelligence or you want to go penetration. It depends what you want to do, if you want more CDR, if you want more penetration towards the enemy. Taking Biscuits is pretty efficient as well, because he runs out of mana pretty fast as well. Dangerous Game is a good mastery, and then you can leave the rest in Ferocity, as long as if you want to go for full AP Galio. Full AP Galio is actually the one-shot Galio. If you've not seen in my previous videos, you can go see me play Galio, and I've just been one-shotting people left, right, and center. But remember, this is only for AP, so if you guys want to do anything like tank, you want the same masteries as Shen had. Now, if you go back in my Shen guide, you can also go check that out, or you can go check online for some masteries for Galio as well. But what I would recommend is either Courage of the Colossus or Stoneborn Pact for Galio. Then the rest you can check on either the Shen masteries, or you can look it up and you guys can check that out for yourself. So yeah, like I was saying, the only reason I didn't show you guys the runes is because you can build the runes up in many different ways. If you want AP Galio, you go AP Galio. You want to go for like stuff like what Xerath has or normal AP champions have. And if you want to go for something like tank, you want to go something like Shen Gen's runes or Garen's runes, because this guy can be played almost anywhere. People play him on mid lane, top lane as tank, mid lane as AP, jungle, and sometimes even support. Maybe not ADC, but people do it sometimes because Galio can pretty much be played anywhere, and you can choose how you play him as well. But I wouldn't say go all trolly and build all lethality on him, because I don't think that would work out. But I think that will be worth a try, so maybe I'll do that in the future. So anyways, let's go back over and let's go talk about the builds on Galio. Now I got 3 lines of builds to show you guys, and I'm gonna show you where to go and where to build these items. So if you're gonna play a top lane Galio, a top lane tank Galio, what you're wanting to do is you want to build stuff like Spirit Visage, Sunfire Cape, Guardian Angel if you want to build that, but that's a bit later in the game, unless you want to switch that out for another tank item. Mercury Treads or Ninja Tab, it's all up to you. And Iceborne Gauntlet actually really helps because of your passive, and it has a bunch of CDR, so you can spam a bunch of your abilities as well. And then you have Abyssal Mask, which used to be called Abyssal Scepter, which is now Abyssal Mask, so don't get confused between Abyssal Mask and Abyssal Scepter. They're the same thing, it's just the item got changed, so they changed the picture. That's the same with Guardian Angel. And then on the second line is the one-shot Galio, the one-shot AP Galio that you guys want to build. Now I always build in the order of building Rod of Ages first, only because I have mana problems, but this also helps me a little bit in tankiness. By tankiness, I mean only in health, like it gives me health, AP, and it gives me mana. So it's good for sustain early, you won't lose mana that early, you'll sustain well, and you'll keep your lane pretty good. And then I'd probably want to go for a Morellonomicon, so I can have more mana, more CDR, and more to spam. Because whenever I play Galio, I always want the potential to spam my abilities. But it's all up to you in what kind of order you want to build this in. And then you want to go for Luden's Echo, build boots whenever you can also, but then build them into Sorcerer's Shoes. Get Lichbane, so it does a bunch of damage after using an ability, because you're most likely gonna be using your abilities all the time. And then Rabdon's Death Cap to, of course, finish it off. Almost every single AP champion's item if you want to amplify your damage a bunch more. And this is the one-shot Galio build, which I've been always going for whenever I go mid-lane Galio. And then the third line is the support Galio build. Face of the Mountain, of course, that's a really good item, and you get the extra gold with it. And the shoes you want to go for is anything of your choice, depending on what's going on bot lane. But if it's a Morgana or a Leona or anyone that's AP and also stuns you or has a bunch of CC, I think you want to go for Mercury Tread. Ruby Sightstone, because after you get Face of the Mountain, you can build your Sightstone into a Ruby Sightstone to get a bunch more health, and it also helps in your tankiness. Knight's Vow, because it has some health, armor, and cooldown reduction, and also has a nice active because it designates you to an allied champion. Mikhail's Crucible, so you can remove CC off your ADC or maybe yourself, and then Locket of Iron Solari. But this is a build that will hugely help you and your ADC. And also in team fights, this is really going to help also, because Mikhail's Crucible, of course, remove the CC. The Sightstone is good for vision control around the map. Knight's Vow, because you're binded to your ally. Then you got Locket of Iron Solari and Face of the Mountain Shield, both acting as shields, and Locket will just, of course, you know, help in team fights to shield everyone after ulting. And Face of the Mountain is just definitely going to be used on bot lane a bunch of the time, so you really want to build that first. Make sure you get your Relic Shield first so you can start getting all the minions to your ADC, and then you just gotta have fun. And then if you want to go jungle, it's all dependent on what kind of jungle items you want to build. You want to start off with Runic Echo after building a Stalker's Blade, but that's if you're gonna go AP. But even while you take Runic Echoes, you can also go a bit of tanky items. You can take your Sunfire or Spirit Visage, and then you can add a bunch of AP items as well. It's all dependent on what you want to build, and it's pretty much optional, but you can pick out from the tank build or the AP build, and you can pretty much make a build of your own. Or if you want to be like other people, you can go AD Galio, and you can smash everyone. So now that I have discussed everything about Galio's builds, we're just going to talk about Galio just to finish off and conclude with the information that we have talked about. Now, because we already started into the abilities and everything, we got straight into Galio. We didn't mention that this was a reworked Galio. So the previous Galio was a gargoyle-looking kind of creature, and he was still OP. The only reason he got reworked was because he was a very, very underrated champion that nobody ever played, and he could also be very, very OP. Even before the rework, he was pretty strong, but nobody ever played him, and Riot decided to make him a more interesting champion. So what they did was they reworked Galio. They completely changed the champion. They changed his model, his look, everything. They also changed the lore, everything about him, how he was born, how he was, you know, put into League of Legends. But yeah, other than that, they did change his whole person. They turned him into a giant stone statue that saves Demacia. And he is a Demacian statue that likes to smash things. But I really don't know where they doesn't sound really interesting. Like, why didn't they give him a title like they did with Yasuo? Like, Yasuo, the Unforgiven. But no, they were like, yeah, Galio, the Colossus. Oh, we're so clever. We make champions interesting. This is why previous Galio had a rework. Yeah. But anyways, jokes aside, that's pretty much Galio. In a nutshell, being reworked, but that's not the end of the information I'm going to be telling you guys. So now that we've pretty much talked about Galio himself, let's just shut up about Galio and let's just tell you guys how the gameplay works and how there's a bunch of tips about him and everything. So we're gonna go straight into his laning phase. So you can play him, like I said throughout this whole video, any lane you want. But if you're most likely gonna play him top or mid lane. When playing him top lane, he has good sustain with his Q and his passive. You always want to unlock your Q first, and you want to go for those minions, those smexy minions. If you have a early harassing champion, you want to try poking him down with your Q while trying to farm, or just focus on farming the whole game. Build up as much as you can, even on the mid lane. When you're playing mid lane, you want to build up into AP items and one-shot items, like, you know, Rod of Ages, that's going to give you good sustain. Then you want to go for stuff like Morellonomicon, the thing that's going to one-shot him. But when you're building into it, I'd recommend you build Lost Chapter first, so you get more mana, and you have some CDR, and then you can use some of that on your enemy. And Morellonomicon does have 20% cooldown reduction, so that's an easy 20% cooldown reduction gone into your kit, so you can spam a bunch of crap really early, and it helps to one-shot your enemy. Now, Galio does have a combo as well when he is fighting, and I'm going to explain to you what the combo is. So when you have all of your abilities, well, this is not really going to include your ultimate, but it requires your Q, W, and E. So once you go up to your enemy, you want to position yourself. You want to make sure you got this. And then you want to go for a Justice Punch. You want to punch him right in the air, and then what you want to do is you want to smash him. Okay, let's get into actual detail now. So what you gotta do is you gotta Justice Punch him, and then you gotta taunt the enemy, and make sure you charge up your W for as long as you can, as long as you think they're not gonna flash away from you. Hold it for as long as you can until they come back down, and then release it, smash them, and throw your Q on them. But what you could also do is you could throw your E, smash them, throw in a taunt as well, then throw in your Q, and then you could probably smash again, because remember, the passive is every time Galio lands an ability, 4 seconds of his cooldown is knocked off his passive. So if you use your W and your Q, you're most likely gonna get your passive smash back, and then you just smash him right again. And if you have that with full AP Galio, you're already one-shotting everyone. Even when you build your first item and you're going against an enemy that you're going balanced with, I think you'll pretty much destroy them. And also, quick note, I think if you want to go mid lane, you want to take Ignite. You want to go top, you want to take TP. And also, make sure you use your ultimate as many times as you can. Now, when I play Galio, I always think of him as a different type of Shen. The only reason I think of that is only because he has a kit that's kind of similar to his, only because of the taunt and the ultimate. They both have dashes, but Shen's dashes can go over walls and stuff, but also taunts enemies. Galio's knocks up people, but he also has a taunt in his kit. And both their ultimates are really similar. The only thing is, Galio's ultimate has a lot of range, and it also reduces the damage for anything that happens to the ally champion you ultimate on. And you knock up a bunch of people, stun them, and you can pretty much just destroy all of them. Playing him in the jungle, I think you want to start off at any side you want, because you clear camps insanely fast with your E and Q. Your W won't work against monsters, it only works against enemies, so I think you want to save that for when you go engaging in fight. Also, about your taunt ability, you can channel your taunt while holding W, and while it's channeling and it's charging up, you can flash and you can release it. Kind of like Shen's taunt, but it's a little different because this has more of a radius. And you can flash while the radius builds up, and then you can release it on the enemy, then you can kill him, and then you can just, yeah, you just completely destroy the enemy. Like, they have no chance, and you smash them, punch them, do everything. And that's pretty much Galio, the Colossus. Honestly, I think they could have come up with a better line for Galio, because, fix your shit, Riot. Anyways, guys, if you guys enjoyed this guide, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you guys want to see more videos like this, then go ahead and put it down in the comment section below. Also, I'm starting to take suggestions for who wants what guide, and make sure you leave a rating below, correct me on anything if I've done it wrong, and add some extra information, tips, and anything else you really can, and that would help me out on improving my guides, that will help out any other people that want to know how to play GALIO, and it will help pretty much everyone in general. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Thank you so much for 475 subscribers. This happened too quick, guys. I was supposed to do something at like 100 or 200 subs, and look, you guys are making me grow too quick. Like, this is not fair. Like, can you just give me some time? Like, I know growing's all good and all, but I want to give back to you guys as well. I don't want to be a selfish retard. I just want to yeah, just please calm down, guys. But anyways, thank you so much. Don't forget to keep sharing these videos and everything, and thank you all so much, and I will see you guys later. Peace, guys, and see ya.